Yeah, uh, a very good evening to one and all. So we welcome all the participants for today's webinar on essentials of R&D project proposal by Dr. T. Lazar Mathew. Professor Lazar Mathew is currently a senior advisor at Manipal University. He has over 5 decades of experience in teaching, research, and technology management. He has worked as director of 3 establishments, that is the Life Sciences, DEBEL, and INMAS of DRDO organization. After retirement, he was director of a mission hospital at Ajmer and dean and director at VIT Vellore. He was senior advisor at PSG Institute of Advanced Studies, IIT Bombay, and IIEST Kolkata, and also was a pro vice chancellor of Karunya University. He was instrumental to establish High Altitude Medical Research Center at Leh Society for Biomedical Technology, an internationally recognized rural AIDS facility and Center for Biomedical Research at varying time periods. The document Indian Medical Device Regulatory Authority, prepared by him, formed the basis for Parliamentary Act. He has over 205 research publications, 3 technical books, 12 patents, and several awards to his credit. He has been chairman of various scientific committees of Government of India and represented our country as a leader, member of various technical delegations abroad. He has been a respected teacher and examiner for MBBS, BDS, BTech, MSc, MTech, and PhD for 5 universities. He has delivered several keynote lectures, inaugural and convocation addresses. He is passionate about indigenous development of medical devices. So I welcome Dr. Lazar Mathew, and the floor is yours, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil, for the good words. Dr. Atre sir and my dear friends, it has been, of course, nice of ISSS to start a series of webinar asking me to start the ball rolling. Uh, the title which I have given is for essentials for an R&D project proposal, which actually I was told that it's mostly for the young researchers and the middle level researchers who want to apply for project funding. But then essentials for a project proposal means essentials for a R&D project. So there's no much of a difference. It is only how you make a document. That is what we are talking about. So I will be talking to you nothing from the textbooks, because there are several slides available on this kind of topic. But I would like to share some of my practical experience. I had the humble fortune to be chairman of various committees, and from for DST, DRDO, and MC, what is called MAIT, or and several organizations, the government, even private. So I thought I'll share some of the things what have been noticed by me during this last 25 years of my experience in this field. It will be, if I speak certain things which is fact, that don't think I'm talking something to be boasting of myself. Please don't think like that. I am not that kind of a person, but sometimes to tell you a particular point I may quote my own experience, so please pardon me for that. Now, coming to much of an introduction, I don't want to give, because research several definitions are there, and you all know that there is no point in defining research. But actually, ultimately, it all means that systematic inquiry to create new knowledge. That is what we ultimately come to that. And we have the fundamental and applied forms of research. And fundamental is the base for creating technology. Without fundamental research, you cannot have technology development at all. But then all of we are talking today is not fundamental research. We're talking about not even applied research. Applied research is also research. For example, if you take theoretical physics, it is fundamental. But if you apply them into aerospace or for solar physics, then become applied. But what I'm talking today is a process to create new technology or new knowledge-based products. So that become R&D. So R&D is not a very clear definition, but ultimately it means something to create a technology or to create a product. That's what I want to tell you. That is where we are focusing today. Now, what are the considerations when you think about a proposal? The considerations you should have, what is the funding agency on which you are talking? Because every time when I've seen that people, when they don't get a particular project approved by a particular agency, then they send it to the next one without much of a change. That is something really won't work. Because if I don't succeed in DST, let me try DRDO. It's not that way. One has to see what is the funding agency's requirement. In other words, all of you who are going to apply research, especially youngsters, should read the websites of the particular agency. What is their interest? And unless we have their interest dovetailed with your interest, it will be difficult. And there will be sometimes special invitations, and there are specific themes coming in this group, and there can be some budgetary limits for a, I mean, suppose a technology that is going to be developed, then the budget will be very high. If they're talking about a product, then the budget will depend upon what kind of product you are going to take. So this kind of budgetary limits should be understood by you. And also, in the beginning itself, you should have an idea about what is the expected outcome. Are we going to talk about a product, or are we, what is the outcome which is going to happen? Why I'm telling all these things is these are not generally considered while applying a project. Many people just think about something and then apply, whereas all these considerations are not given in the proper order. Now, the funding agencies are several, and you can see in the website number of them. There are almost like 50 to 60 funding agencies, but I'm just touching upon some of the important funding agencies. We have the DST, which is kind of an umbrella organization, which funds a large number of areas and projects. And we have the Department of Biotechnology, and BIRAC, of course, is part of that. You know what BIRAC is. And the big funding comes from DRDO. DRDO has got its own Society for Biomedical Technology, Life Science Research Board, and then we have various other aeronautical research board, naval research board, like that. So DRDO has got several forms extramural funding. So if you can look at DRDO and your interests are matching with their interest, there is plenty of money available there. Money is available in almost all organizations. It's not the lack of money. What is happening is many times our interest and their interest. When I say our interest, the interest of the person applying, and the interest of the organization sometimes doesn't match. So this matching is very important. ICMR, of course, generally don't do much of an R&D. They are doing research work, but there are certain areas where ICMR also gives you funding for devices. So I don't go into many of the. ISRO is there, DA is there, and of course Ayush is the Ayurvedic side of it. So mostly it will be products, not in the form of but products, of course, that also is possible for you. May not be engineers. So now coming to the non-governmental funding, this is important. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one which gives a lot of money. I had a project with them while I was in Coimbatore, PSG. The That was a project on tuberculosis, and we had a equipment developed for something, and this was a project between India and South Africa, and I had a good funding from them. It's a what they call grand challenge. I think you should look at some of the grand challenges available from Bill and Gates Foundation. Of course, it is a bit tough. They mean business. I mean, with the permission of Dr. Atra, I want to tell you, it was something very peculiar experience I had. I had applied for this in my, I was the main person at that time. I had 3, 4 professors with me. So when they asked for a presentation, I sent one of the professors of mine, and they didn't take the project at all. They said, no, he should come. So I went to them, and I am a retired person, sufficiently elderly at that time, and I had a team of youngsters, around 20, 25 years old people, judging my ability and experience. It was a bit of I wouldn't say humiliating experience, but it was a bit of a peculiar experience. But then I got the project. The point is, you should be prepared to satisfy the funding agency's requirement, and you are able to convince them. Then there is money available there also. Rockefeller Foundation also gives the money, but again for a specific purpose. Tesla, there are people who are working on what you call electric vehicles and so on. We have Asim Premji Foundation, Tata Sons, and Biocon Foundation, and so many, Hindu Jai, for example. All these are having funds. I don't say that they are giving just like that, but there is a possibility for some of you to look at these funding agencies also. In the last 1 or 2 years, unfortunately, with the COVID, all the activities a very limited scale, but they are not closed. These foundations are available. Those who want to try can also try for them. Now, one of the things which I would like to tell, I'm not talking the entire areas of R&D available, but at the moment, these are some of the important areas of R&D available to you. We have medical devices and equipment in a big way. This is very important point because most of you, the actual truth is in our country or any country for that matter, there are four pillars for healthcare. The four pillars are: number one is actually the infrastructural facilities, number two, manpower, number three, the drugs, medicines, and vaccines, and number four is devices and equipment. We are not so bad in all the first three. Actually, people say that we have not so bad, but we are very poor as far as the fourth thing is concerned. We almost spend everything, 70,000 crore rupees worth of equipment we are importing every year. And this country needs indigenous Atma Nirbhar Bharat or Make in India should be in a very big way, should be done in medical field. There is some lot of improvement, lot of efforts are being done. But with all this, we have limited equipment or devices available in the market. So I think there is a lot of scope there if you look at medical. Environmental, of course, there is a lot of scope. We need, devices, equipment for monitoring, for regulating, for automatic things, and so on. Energy is another area where we need, everybody knows green energy is needed, but then how much green energy we are able to tap, the solar, how much we can. There are many big projects are going on, but if you have got a bright idea, there is specific areas of funding agency available here. Agriculture is becoming another field wherein now a lot of drones, lot of sensors, unlike the days only where we had fertilizers and chemicals. It's moving from that area into organic farming. When it come to organic farming, there are issues, there are problems, and there the devices and monitoring become very important. And of course, defense is being my field. I will say there is lot of scope, lot of money available, provided you are able to satisfy some of their requirement. For example, we have been talking about a physiological vest. Can you do something in that line? Because all of you are good engineers, and probably we have some vest available, but can we improve it? Or we have the exoskeleton, not the one for the purpose of walking and all, but for the defense exoskeleton. There is big program going on, but definitely there will be funding opportunities for those who want to work in that area. So there are many, of course, for example, even there is archaeological and the wildlife and monitoring of such things are all are there. I don't want to bring them because these are the major funding areas where you can try. Now, the basic principle of any project is where many times we fall or we fail is we are not able to identify the problem properly. We many times, for example, I have been sitting in various committees and I have seen people bringing cancer program, and they will spend a lot of time talking about cancer's importance and so many million people are dying and so on. Generally, two things are very common. One is breast cancer, another is cervical cancer, thinking that women are, there will be funding available. But the question is, what is the problem you are going to apply? What is the problem you are going to tackle? Everybody knows it's a big problem, like energy is a big problem, or it's not enough to have a generic kind of thing. You have to analyze the factors concerned. What are the factors which is causing it? For example, in case of cancer, we have diagnosis, we have therapy, we have prognosis in major way. In the diagnosis where you can look at it, it's not enough that there is thermal imaging or something, but there are a lot of work has been done. So when you come to a problem, you have to understand the problem and where you can contribute. The other day I was seeing a group of people and they were trying to do an artificial larynx, And the principal investigator told me, sir, it's a big problem. I said, it's a problem. So what is that you want to do? So ultimately it turned out to be that there is a equipment available from abroad, artificial larynx, which is expensive, and that also it's not completely suiting our population. So the real problem turned out to be, problem is to make an instrument better than the imported one at a lower cost. That is the clear problem statement there. So problem statement itself will take time for you, and it's not easy because you have to ask why. Then you have to break down the problem, and you should also look at possible solutions. Is it something which is possible at all? And if there is a possible solution, and considering all this, the problem, its different factors, and the possible solution, understanding your own limitations. You see, something which may not be possible for you, understanding your own limitation, then all this took consideration, you have to bring a problem statement. If you can write a problem statement, uh, half the work is done. Properly, if a problem statement can be written down, that means you have understood the problem. Once you know the problem well, then probably you will be able to attack it better. In the RDO during Dr. Athre's time, he used to say that half the work is done if you can make a definition of the problem. So definition of the problem is something which is not easy unless you really look at various aspects of it. And once the problem is there, you should also think what is the concept that you're looking at. So the basic principles is something which you should spend some time before we look at a project proposal. Unless we have some time spent on these issues, we will not be able to make a problem statement. And this is what I wanted to try to tell you, because many a time I have seen the problem itself is not understood by the researcher or the developer. Now, a feasibility study has to be done within you, within your group. What is possible may not be feasible. It is possible, many things are possible theoretically. For example, we may be able to take enough energy from the sea. The sea water is getting hot, and that heat is being wasted. Can we take it? I mean, is it feasible? So this kind of ideas can come. Different ideas are. I get a lot of ideas, but they are not feasible. So we have to look at what is feasible. Number one, it may be feasible later, but is it feasible now? So this is a feasibility study you should spend, and whether you have the technical know-how, and is it the resources available with you, and ultimately if you do all these things, a cost benefit analysis has to come. You have a new idea, you can produce excellent drinking water, you can make it in the market available, but the cost will be 1 liter 50 rupees. How it will be sold? So you have to understand, ultimately cost benefit analysis has to come. In defense, of course, may be slightly different, but the cost benefit analysis, because if it is imported cost and so on. But otherwise, even in medicine, if you can, but the idea that our cost is always low is not correct. My experience is, I used to think that we can make any equipment at the cost of about 40% of the imported one. But many a time we couldn't. By the time we really put it in the market, our cost has gone up. So this cost benefit analysis, the large number of samples when you make, you should have some idea. And then only that means these questions will be answered by yourself before you make a presentation in the committee or before you even submit the proposal. Now, do you have, when I talked about resources, there are 2-3 resources. One is manpower. Of course, I am not touching it. I'm believing that you have the manpower with you, or you have the idea. But then do you have in the institution some research laboratories? Now, many people complain to me, sir, you always give the project to IASC and IITs only, don't give it to us. Now, to some extent, it may be true. That is because the facilities available there, the kind of manpower available there, not because any bias. But then, do we have some research labs? Do we have some capable software design studios? I put it, need not be a studio, but at least you have the facility. Do you have workshop and such facilities for development activities? And ultimately, if a prototype is made, can you test it in the laboratory? Forget about the clinical trials and the field trials and so on. But do we have any enough or good facility for making testing there? And then, if a few prototypes have to be made, you should have some limited manufacturing facility. So there are many institutions having all this, and I'm sure that those of you sitting from IASC and so on, you have the facility. But I'm not talking about the institute facility. It should be available to you. There may be many things available in the institute, but they will. Many time people tell me, sir, that is in the other department. I can't get it. You give me another one. That is something which is not very acceptable for any funding agencies. Sometime a funding agency has given an equipment costing about 10 crores something to one particular department of an institute, and again the similar thing is coming from another department. I think it is ridiculous. The equipment is already available. You should be able to use it. So this is what I mean by your understanding about infrastructure facilities. And ultimately, there are two levels of project. I'm coming to that. At least one level should be transfer technology. So up to level of transfer technology, when you want to look at it, you have to have all these infrastructure resources either with you or with your organization or with your friends. What I mean is partners. So this kind of a, it's not necessary to be one department. It can be different department. It can be department to another institution. For example, some good work is being done at PGI Chandigarh along with the engineering college there. I'm aware of it. Excellent, because good partnership is going on. Both engineering institutions and medical colleges are adjacent. And where I am today, Manipal, we have all this thing under one umbrella. So I'm trying to do some experiment here in that line, whether we can do something together. The point I'm trying to make at the moment is this resources, manpower and other infrastructure resources, you should have a look at it before you submit it, because many a time most of the chairman or the committee members will be knowing your resources more than you. So then it becomes very embarrassing for you, isn't it? So I think you should look at this. Now, this is something which I put a few P's here for you to look at. What is your personal purpose or plan for the research? Why are you wanting to do R&D, or why are you wanting to do research? I put a few things here. For example, some people believe that you apply for a research program, get a funding, and get some publications done. I think nothing wrong in that, but that is a very limited area. Publications definitely is very good. We need publications, but publications are good, but publications may not be good enough. The point I'm making is, why should some funding agency gives you money only to make some publication? Unless those publications are original, unless those publications are going to give some very powerful impact, not just impact factor alone. I'm talking about impact. Second idea of the next P will be PhD scholars. I have some PhD scholars, so I need money for them. They don't have a scholarship, so I need a project. I'm telling out of experience all these things. I mean, that's okay, but then that is again not good enough. Here comes lot of very senior, very what is called professors from excellent institutions who have told me, sir, I have published, I have got given the scholarship for people. What more you want? I mean, that's not enough for an R&D project. The next group is they are ready to go up to the level of patent. They will file a patent. Filing is patent is not something very great. There are three stages of patenting. The first stage is you apply for a patent, file a patent. Second is publication of a patent, and third is award of a patent. Now, if you have got a patent awarded, even if it is not what is called marketed, there is something in this. You have got a patent awarded. Whereas just by filing a patent, I was looking at this patent. Interestingly, there are 5 patents available on what is called toothbrush alone from institutions. Nothing wrong in it. I mean, what is wrong after all? But that is not going to make a big impact for the country. You have 5 patents only on what is called. There is another institution which claims to have 1,000 patents filed again, not completely awarded. So patent also you should be little more. It's not enough that you file a patent. The idea should be when you apply for a project, you should have the confidence that I will get a patent, at least published, may take time for getting it awarded. Of course, the next level is products. Can you go to the level of products? I mean, that is where the real game. If you can make a product, whether the next level will be by marketable products. So, product is something which we are looking at it now. Our country, when you become, break really make in India, is only when we are able to make products like China and put all around the world. Not only we are not able to do that. That is where the need is today. So you young people or people who are working in the R&D line should look at products and or processes. Processes means some of the new for example, you can have a process for drinking water technology, a new process which is cheaper, more efficient. There are so many people working in this, not product but a process. So the process can be. Then of course the ultimate is policy changes. I'll tell you an example. The institute which I happened to be the director once before me joining there, much before, the so-called iodized salt that you see today is a contribution from INMAS, Institute of Nuclear Medicine and Allied Sciences, a DRDO organization. That institute was very famous for thyroid diseases, and much early, they made a policy for the government that the salt should be iodized. Such a big thing. Today, you will see every nook and corner iodized salt, and nobody knows INMAS, but I can tell you this is a contribution from INMAS. Or similarly, I happen to be also a member of a committee when I was not very senior, a middle level scientist at Defense Institute of Physiology and Allied Sciences. We made a policy change. We means that committee where I was a member, three of us, uh, made a policy change wherein physical fitness to physiological fitness for recruitment of army people made a big change. Lot of people from South and West Bengal were not able to get into the army just because their physical fitness was not good enough. When we converted physical fitness into physiological fitness, I think some of you will understand the difference. Physical fitness is only talking about height, weight, and all that thing. Physiological fitness is talking about the respiratory system. And for example, a 5 feet 2 inches person will have certain parameters different than a 6 feet 2 inches person, but both may be physiologically equal. So this physiological fitness has been accepted by the army, and today the recruitment is on the basis of physiological fitness. So what I'm trying to tell you is these policy changes are ultimate in your research, but it will take time. Not that you may do it, but your aim should be that you are going to contribute something like this. So at least I will say the initial stages of your researchers should look at your product up to the patent level, and some seniors should look at a product level or process level. I think the purpose, it should not be itself on publication. And I'm afraid to tell you a particular incident happened when about 20 years back I was chairing a group of thing, and one professor came. I don't want to tell his name. Some of you know him, and he took a project wherein he promised to have a product made. At that time also I told him, sir, leave the product, but at least a prototype you make. But then finally when submitted the report wherein only publications were there, and then neither patent nor product, then I asked him what happened. Then he said, no, no, I've already made it. Now some industry should take it. It is your problem. It's not my problem. It is not, this problem is in your hand itself. The man who started it should find an industry, should take it forward. It's not that something which can be done by others. It is you yourself. So you should have some plan for that. Your plan should not be at publications, PhD scholars level. Patents and products should be in your in your what's called in your plan. So this is your personal plan. But now coming to, after doing this kind of an exercise, we should review the problem. Now, the new terminology, revisit, problem becomes issues. Anyway, the point I just want to tell you, we should revisit now. The original problem, which we thought of it, now you look at it again, inside out and back again. I mean, just, go again up and down, and see that whether you have the general knowledge of the problem. Now, this is very, very important. When we really talk to the researchers, when they make presentations, I have often found that they are not having the general knowledge of the problem. They have some idea. That's not enough. Then what is your specific area of study? By now you should be able to, after seeing the previous slides, by now you will be able to know what are the specific areas, and then you will be able to understand what is the gap. When the existing knowledge, your proposal, what is the gap? Can you fill it? So the gap filling is important. In other words, ultimately, can we give some contributions, original contributions, or a new knowledge into this? If that is all done, then comes your title. Then comes your title. Title is not given in the beginning. Most of us, when we make a proposal, we make the title first, and then we try to fill up the titles, and then aims and objectives, etc. We are filling it up. That is where we make a small mistake, because the title has to come after all this initial homework. If you do all this, then you will have a proper title, not only a catchy title, a title which gives you a lot of ideas about what you want to do. So that is one thing which is, to my mind, very important. Of course, all these are debatable points. What I'm telling may not be acceptable to everyone. I'm just telling from my own experience, but you can have different ways. But this is one way of doing a project proposal. Now we come to the usual stuff, what you call the format of the funding agency. One thing which many of you will generally don't write properly is the executive summary. I give a lot of importance to it. You can have a 2-page, even little more than that, of a good executive summary of everything. It's not just a small abstract. The reason is many senior people who are going to be members of your committee, even though you have written about 25 pages of material, they will spend very little time on that, but they will definitely see your executive summary clearly. So it's important to write an executive summary, giving all aspects, giving a reason why you are applying for the project, the points which I mentioned earlier, giving those answers. If you can make a good executive summary, that will be a great thing. But most of the proposals, I have not seen a good executive summary. There will be small abstract and some lines copied from the inside material, not giving enough thought on an executive summary. So I'll tell you, this will be a good important point for you. Try to do an executive summary by summarizing various aspects, the problem itself, and getting into almost everything. For example, now you have aims and objectives, which are all, I don't want to take time on it, which is all available. What is the aim that you are going to do? What are the objectives? Now this is something which all of you know. One point which I'll talk about it, is a team. The present formats, most of them will have principal investigator, co-principal investigators, and investigators. This is a term which people use. Nothing wrong in it. I will change that into team. Because the team, it's not going to be a single person or a 2 people affair. It should be a teamwork. And wherever there is a teamwork, there is a point of success. There's a chance of success. Why the funding agencies are asking for PI, co-PI? Because if the PI get transferred, the co-PI should take the responsibility. That's the leader. The leader is okay, but it's not enough to have just a few people, PI, co-PI. Many a time we often ignore others. I tell you some of the experience I have in these others. People who really mattered. When we made the coronary stent, I happened to be the executive for the Society for Biomedical Technology. And I remember clearly, the person who made the stent possible was one of the technical assistant in one of our DRDO laboratories. He's such a skilled person. He made it out of his hand the first few ones. And then, of course, the rest is history. But the point is that skill of the person, myself and Dr. Tiwari, both of us were spending time with him in his laboratory, going on doing it. We tried it, what is called titanium. We failed. Finally, we came back to, stainless steel, medical grade. And it's not easy at all. The way he did it was fantastic. So there are skilled people in the team. And This is very, very, very important. In other example, for example, in Karunya, when I was there, everybody COVID products were put at every engineering college. Our boss also wanted to put some items, and I was in charge of that. So again, immediately, a lot of COVID items, you might have seen number of them. COVID products, about 20 of them are available in the market for a while. It had come up like anything, and most of them had a natural death also in the market. For example, this kiosk, there is so many of them, and the screening of temperature, all that thing. We all made all of them, and the one who really helped me was a technical assistant from mechanical engineering department. Fantastic person. He used to sit in the whole night, night up to 12 o'clock and work with it. But because of COVID restriction, the lockdown, people were not coming. Three of us, me and the professor of mechanical engineering and this guy, used to spend time and get the product out so that we could also say that we also got the products. The point I'm making is, in your team, see that there are people who are able to do the brilliant ones, the leaders, definitely, the middle level, and of course there should be skilled people. Then only a product or something can come. And of course your organization is very important, your institution is very important. Now I already mentioned why certain institutions are getting projects, others are probably finding it difficult. But this is something, it's not that the funding agencies are biased or anything, but there are certain restrictions. But luckily we have certain groups now, they are also getting projects. And if there is a real good idea, a real good plan, the projects are possible for everybody. Now, not only this, your own institution, you can also look at your partners. The partners are institutions in industry together. Now, coming to the team, I take 1 minute. There was a time when we talked about a gifted individual. The boss, he knows everything. Thomas Alva, a decent type. It became a committed group of individuals, and then it became a teamwork. When it means teamwork, there should be a team player. Everybody should be a member of the team. And of course, this is a very, very difficult thing, because in our country, it's not working well. We should have a real mechanism. We should identify a mechanism in the beginning itself, how to give kind of credit sharing. Team means credit sharing. When the credit sharing is failing, the team will not work. So you should look at that. Before we submit proposals. Now, literature survey, I don't want to take any time of yours, because only thing is, literature survey should be on the global level, and the local level, and at the organizational level, and at the personal level. Because if you have no publication at all, if your institution doesn't have any publication at all, then it becomes what experience you have then. So you should make it globally what is happening. Locally in Indian scenario, many times people don't know what is happening in Indian scenario at all. They will simply say it is not there, sir. It is there. The publications are there. I don't want to take your time. Otherwise, I had experience where somebody has quoted my own paper, which was published in 1972, at somewhere in 2000, and said it's not there. I have to tell him it is there. Then he said, sir, there was some Mathew who published long back, but that is not enough. I said, who is this Mathew? Then one of the members told him, the chairman is that Mathew. So that fellow got very upset. I said, don't worry. I gave him the project. But the point I'm making is, we should be seeing the literature survey in all these aspects. And personally, what do you have a publication, or your group, the team? What is that? Then, of course, patent search is also important for a product thing. Now, once in a meeting, I told that this is a catch line. I'm sorry to say, myself gave project for a product. There is nothing like that. It's only giving an idea, project for a product. That means your project is ultimately aiming to become a product. That is what it is. It's a concept level, then it's becoming a project. Then you should look at patent. It's then a prototype. Then the approvals are required, and then ultimately product comes. Now every level it is taking time. Concept itself, you have to look at we discussed already how to write a project. We discussed what is the patent filing, etc. We discussed, and then prototype. And prototype to product, there is a big problem called approval. So there will be testing, there will be approval from the competent authority. If it is medical, there is a big problem. You should have the ethical clearance, the clinical trials. Even for others, we have the certain formalities, and then finally becomes a product. So this is not easy, but we are not asking you to do in one project itself. For example, up to patent can be one, up to prototype can be one project. Then somebody can take over from prototype to product, some can be. Or you can take a 5-year program. Not necessary that, everything is, made into 3 years and then say that we can manage it. That may not be possible. But the idea is, can you look at a project for a product at all? That is where we are talking about. Idea itself should be not for a project for a publication or project for a PhD scholar. If it is a project for a product, these are the issues involved in the whole pattern. Now, there is something called technology readiness level. Some of you know it very well, and others may not have been knowing much about it. This is a concept given from NASA. I will take the next slide and then come back to this slide, because here is the valley of technology death. This very important thing from NASA. And here, if you look at it, it is divided into 1 to 9. This whole thing is divided into 1 to 9. The marketable product technology ready 9 means it is going to be deployed in the market, or it is given. And the basic principles when you do it is called the TRL1, and technology concept level is called 2, proof of concept is 3, technology what is called validation is number 4, and validation, the actual environment is number 5, technology demonstration is number 6, and system, not just the technology alone, as a system, as an equipment, that prototype is number 7, and the system, when it is completely validated, it is called 8, and number 9 is what is called in the market. Now, what I'm trying to tell you in this picture is, some of you will be knowing, pardon me for that, but here it is what is called a valley of technology death. And most of our projects, most of it I will say, what we are funding, most of them get into the valley and die there. What is happening here is funding agencies give you money, it's academia, you come to the level of something like number 4, but technology validated in the form of a laboratory thing, and you feel the project is done. And then the industry should take over. If you have got 1 crore rupees for the funding agency, the industry should spend 2 crore. You can see the graph. The industry is afraid to spend that money. They are finding it very risky. So most of the technology, this gap is not filled at all. Now, this is something which you cannot solve at your level, but this is something which you understand. How do you do this? Because you should have an industry collaboration, not just, many times we get industry collaboration paper. People all give me some paper qualification saying that this industry is willing, sir. But then that's not the thing. If your technology, if your product, if your prototype is worth it, there will be many people ready to take it because there is money in it. But if my professor told earlier days that it's not my problem, then whose problem it is? So the question is, we should have an idea. Technology death should not happen. We should have a mechanism by which we should be able to take over from what you have done. If what you have done is good, there will be definitely somebody will take over. Now, coming back to the previous slide, this is the TRL, what is being practiced by BIRAC today. TRL 1 and 2, they were combined, called Basic Technology Research. You can see that this slide. And 2 and 3 is called Research to Prove Feasibility, which I have discussed with you. Then technology development, that's where we talk about development itself, major thing, 3 to 5, technology development. Now, after the technology development, we have the technology demonstration. So up to this, up to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by the time you do the technology demonstration, and then comes industry, system, subsystem development, and system testing, and launch and marketing. Now here, this is what they are practicing right now by IRAC when they take projects for funding. But well, of course, it's pretty hard. We cannot have a hard and fast rule in this case, but people are trying to do this. Here, this concept should be known to all of you. Why I'm telling this? Because most of the people who are applying for projects, when I ask them what is your TRL, they have not heard about it. Now, this is an old thing. NASA has put it for quite some time back. We have not been insisting in our project evaluations, but now it is becoming a necessity. So we should understand what is the technology readiness level. Of course, the RDO and so on, everybody knows it. But then, how do we do it? How do we really practice it? This requires a certain amount of mentoring, certain amount of senior people working with the other colleagues, and see that what we are planning itself, do we have a technology readiness level? Can we create a technology readiness level? If we cannot, we can say that our technology will be up to the level of 3 only. Don't bite it saying that there will be product. It is not possible. What is possible only we should tell them. So the value of technology depth should be known to the funding agency unless they have a mechanism of taking it up further. Otherwise, the whole, actually speaking, most of the programs, most of the projects, they have given training for people, they have given the PhD scholars, they have given publications, but then it has not reached beyond this 4 or 5. And this is a fact. And consciously, many a time we have given projects because we need the experience in the country. But as time has come for us now, especially you people who are listening me today, it is you who have to contribute for filling the gap. Let there be no technology valley of technology death. There should be some mechanism of taking it forward. For example, this is a very important 2 slides which I am sharing with you, and we should find some mechanism internally whenever we apply for proposals, and we should tell that what is the mechanism that we are proposing to take it. And there comes the next point which I am talking about, may not be written here, monitoring mechanism internally. Many institutions don't have monitoring mechanism internally, and external monitoring is, I'm chairman of various committees, I can tell you, in an hour, in a day, there will be 25 people presenting, and more of an eyewash. They will say something and go, and that's not enough. We should have an internal mechanism for monitoring. Now, with all this, we come to the methodology. I call it as an action plan. It's not methodology alone. Methodology, institute, industry, interaction. Do you have something? And any plan for technology transfer. So your methodology should give all the 3 things. That methodology of the doing it, that's one thing which everybody writes it. For example, what are you going to do in the development in the laboratory? You will give beautiful block diagrams. I have seen that. How much of them will be completed, I don't know. But there are block diagrams. Every engineer is very good in making these block diagrams. It's always there. But that's not enough. You also mentioned about what is your institute industry interaction. Do you have some industries with you? And what is your plan for technology transfer? If you can give, then it becomes an action plan, just not a methodology. Now, timeline, we call probable duration of completion. Ultimately, every time there will be an extension. This is not a good habit at all. You ask for the realistic time frame. A realistic time frame is very important, and make it, we don't ask you PERT or CPM. We don't want that kind of detail, but a 6-monthly breakup you give, and what is the plan that you are going to do. And unless you have a 6-monthly internal monitoring mechanism, this will never be successful. And wherever I go, wherever I've been talking about internal monitoring mechanism, where it is there, those people are able to complete the project in time. So it should be realistic and avoid the requirement of extension. People take the project saying that, sir, give me for 3 years. Afterwards, I'll extend it for 1 more year. I mean, it's already known to you. I mean, it's not a secret at all. Internal monitoring mechanism, I'm putting double stick there. Very, very important. And that is the only way you can keep up your timeline. Budget, of course, is again, people will not look at available resources. Unless you have some resources yourself, you will be not getting additional funds. Additional funds only budget. It's manpower and the equipment, everything is additional. What you have, plus something. If you have nothing, then it becomes very difficult. People ask for, first 6-month budget is required for books, for computers. I mean, it is more of ridiculous. If you don't have some basic books, you don't have basic computer, software, something, then how are you going to do it? So available resources, you show very clearly, you show all the available resources. Many times, available resources from the institution available to you. in different forms. May not be directly under your control, but all these are available resources. Additional funds, what for? Justification. Many times, contingency or travel or which is very vague, which not given any contingency, consumable, travel, etc. is a very vague thing, never given properly. And similarly, equipment also. If you got some equipment, once I tell you an example, we gave a project to some particular group. They asked at that time some 20 lakh rupees for an equipment. Project was good, so we agreed, gave it, and the project was over. And then the particular equipment was purchased for 2.5 lakhs, and the financial group of that particular DST asked me, sir, how have you given this 20 lakhs when they could buy it for 2.5 lakhs? I had no answer, because it was, we are believing, but then the same group purchased for 2.5 lakhs. So it's such an exaggeration. I mean, such things should be avoided. We should get probably some codes, not some kind of a code for equipment, so on, so that, it is, and also justify why you need it. Everybody knows it, maybe everybody knows it, but you justify in your proposal. And in other words, we all need proper homework before we do the budgetary calculations. Now, one almost last points. One is the expected outcome. What are you gaining out of all this? Your argument maybe is, I got about 50 lakh rupees for a project, so why should I think about? It's not 50 lakhs alone. You have taken the institute's things for 3 years. You have taken your own salaries and salaries of your co-workers. So 50 lakh project, if you ask me, maybe 2.5 crore. It's not that to just 50 lakh alone. 50 lakh is additional fund you've taken. You've taken a lot of other things. The institute resources and all government things you've taken. So what is that society gets out of it? If you spend 2.5 crore on a particular program, do we have something to get back? So your thinking should be like that. I'm not telling that always it is possible to return, but you should think like that. Your thinking should not be that 50 lakh project, why should I bother? No, it's not that way. Time and resources which you used, your own time, everything is money. Corporate people will look at that way. That's what happened to Melinda, Bill Gates when I went. They were looking at it in a different way. Every rupee, every minute, how it is going to be. That was the kind. I learned a lot from them, even though it was a little bit embarrassing. But then it was a different way of looking at things. We look at it in academic way in a different manner, but corporate way is certainly different. So we should have some corporate way of understanding what is the societal benefit. If I make this equipment, how many years it will go into the particular field? Can be 5 years, how many people will use it? Some kind of an understanding you should have. And do you have some new product or a new knowledge? If neither a product nor there is a knowledge, then it is not much of a gain. In other words, do you have some innovation? Forget about invention. Invention may be much later, but there is something called innovation. Do you have some innovation into this? And what is the gain immediately, or what is the gain in the long run? So this all should be brought out by you yourself to bring up all these details in your proposal. Now, product, when you want to get it, I have a small slide to tell you why we are not getting is mainly because of this particular thing. We have something in the mind, and that's all. We have a mindset which is not meant for market. Our mind should change, our mindset should change so that capture from the mind convert into the market. So mindset market is a new kind of a catch line I want to give you. Keep this in mind. Your mind, your brain, your work, all should be to the market. How it will be possible unless you keep a slightly different mindset? I am an academician, I don't bother about it. That should not be probably. Academicians also after the hello.
Dr. Chirashri, yeah. Now you can continue, sir. It should be fine.
Okay. So the mindset to market, that is what we are trying to catch it. And I'm not taking any time on this. My time is almost getting over. We have the bibliography and biodata. Relevant references should be given. Your experience in the field should be brought out in your biodata and bibliography. Biodata and bibliography, and the institutional interest, your capability, etc., should be shown, and that is the important thing which we should look at, the bibliography and biodata. And I already discussed that, the patent search and the what is called bibliography. Coming to the last slide, which I want to talk to you a few minutes, a couple of minutes. This is out of my experience. I mean, to say hundreds of probably projects have gone through different varieties, at least a few hundreds. And I have seen one thing, most of them have not understood the problem properly. The problem, of course, problem statements, etc., started recently. We were not insisting on earlier. The person who is applying a generic idea about the problem, precisely what is the problem he is going to attack, is not brought out in the document. So one thing is problem not understood. Then mostly it is very vague. Of course, very vague, being very crystal clear, sometimes you get into problem. That's my experience personally. But then unless you are clear, your vague expression doesn't give much of an idea to people. Literature survey generally inadequate. Some Google search they will do and bring something, and they don't know what has been already done. I told you some examples. I have several examples wherein the person says this is new. He doesn't know, but it's available. And people who, people like some of us travel, Dr. Atre or myself, we've been traveling in the country. We might have seen it elsewhere. And with this, they telling us, that's not available, will not work because it's available. Similarly, patents are generally not done. And the budget as well as the timeline are not always realistic. Both are very unrealistic. Budget will be generally exaggerated. The idea is, the committee will cut short, so let me ask for 60 lakhs, then only they'll give me 30 lakhs. Or, you shouldn't agree to reduce. You should say that, yes, I need, once it happened in a lady from IIT, I still remember that. We tried to reduce money, and then she told us saying that, no, sir, in that case, I don't want the project. I said, no, that means you mean it. We gave her actually 5 lakh rupees more. The reason was, it was so beautifully brought out, the budgetary calculations, precise. But most of the people I've seen an exaggerated budget and an unrealistic timeline. The other way around. 2 years is good enough, and they require 5 years sometimes. Industry, market, no idea. People have not understood how to produce a product, how to tackle an industry thing. They complain that the industry doesn't come forward, sir. It is their problem. It's not their problem. Industry is a corporate person. He needs to make money. He has to talk to his shareholders. Unless he makes money, he cannot survive. You cannot, he doesn't have a monthly salary. So he is right in asking you to give him the detail. I think it's again, people don't have an idea about market. It's not, I agree that market dynamics are not your problem, but you should understand that there should be some reasoning for this. Cost benefit analysis generally not done. And outcome output, I have already discussed what benefit for whom. Public exchequer money, when we take it, public should get some benefit. And finally, of course, I'm afraid to say, many times people who apply, not to meaning anyone, are they competent to, we should prove that you are competent to do this particular project. I think I close it. Thank you very much for listening me. Thank you very much. I have finished with Dr. Veda.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mathew. I would request the participants to post their questions in the chat box, or they can open their.
I think it will be better openly. Better openly. They can tell.
We have a couple of questions from Dr. Ramchandra.
Yeah.
If he wants, he can himself unmute and speak.
Dr. Mathew, Ramchandra here again. We used to have a system called DATE, D-A-T-E, in DRDO. I hope you remember that. It was initiated by Dr. Atre for initial evaluation of projects which are being forwarded for sanction.
Yes.
And that was a bit of help. But of course, that was meant for big projects where technology readiness level used to be the criteria for evaluating them. And there's several factors. Now,
Yes.
is there a possibility a similar yardstick or similar, shall we say, a help to people who propose this project from academia can use this so that they know where they are with reference to their strong points on the project's strength for sanction? That was my...
It's a good idea. Only thing is it has to be done by ourselves, because the funding agencies may not be interested in that. Because they will say that we have one committee, we cannot have another committee and so on. But internally, for example, this in the RDF, this was definitely needed because large number of ideas have to be filtered. So even here it will help. For example, many people who are coming today, what I talked today, may not be known to many people or maybe known in a different manner. So we can have the internal monitoring, internal what is called mentoring, I will say, not monitoring, internal mentoring mechanism before they submit the proposal. I tell you one thing, if the proposals can be put up the way I described, taking time, and really it can mean business, funding is not a problem. There is money available. So many times what is happening is we submit half-cooked material, and as a result, many times we are not getting projects. So I think it will be a very wonderful idea, and the different organizations can look at it. Not the same group, a particular program, a particular project. There may be some experts available in that area, and look at it. It will be very good. I'm for that. Yeah, absolutely fine.
And of course, my second question has already been answered. I mean, this is a well-known fact that if there is an industry joint program with the industry or R&D lab, the uncertainties in project proposal is reduced quite a bit. So I don't think that's a proper question to ask at this point in time. You already explained that, so I just keep quiet about it. Thank you.
Yeah. The only thing is, many times in the column there is, in the format, so they fill up some industry, which probably is not capable of doing it. No, that is not enough. We should have a real this mentoring mechanism which you mentioned, and if you do that, we can look at the company's interest, whether they will be able to take some, will they have the ability to risk-taking ability? That is that's the word I use. Risk-taking ability will be the necessity from the industry side. If that is there, it will be very useful. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. N. Swami, you have posted a question. Would you like to unmute and ask? Okay, might be they have a mic issue. The question is, hello, sir, is it necessary that the institutes should have an NBA to get R&D funding? That's National Board of Accreditation. Should they have the...
Not necessary for all proposals, not necessary. There are certain proposals where it is required. Not only this, there is a requirement in certain proposals wherein your NIRF ranking, they want not more than 100. So many occasions there is a problem. I don't fully agree with it, but that is not in my control. But at the moment, because a large number of proposals coming, all kind of repetitions, NIRF ranking and accreditations, etc., being considered. But there is no bar on other things at the moment.
Okay. Dr. Gangadharan, you can unmute and ask.
Yeah, so Professor, here we find the lack of confidence of industry in academic research.
Right.
What is that few steps which we can look at to improve it?
Yeah, according to me, I mean, this is personal. I will say there is no direct to this thing. My opinion is we should have more interactions between industry and the institution. For example, a professor like you should be able to spend some time, 3 months in an industry. Okay, give them the confidence that we are not just academicians, we are actually meaning business. So institute industry interaction, when you're talking in a theoretical manner, it is not the thing. There should be exchange program. Similarly, a place like Manipal University, I'm not actually here in an authority, but they should be able to bring an industry person to work here. The MIT, Manipal Institute of Technology, should have a professor completely coming from an industry. So what will happen is, one mechanism is understanding each other itself. Okay, Number two is, can you think about giving a PhD to a person? He may not be able to put a full time 3 years with you, but he will be working in his industry. You can give him a problem, and he works in his industry part of the time. He comes and does all that papers what you require. So you are from NIT. So my feeling is the institute industry interaction should become more and more, able to understand each other. If that can be done, I'm sure that will improve. At the moment, both are not knowing each other. See, we feel academicians, since academicians feel industry is only after money. I mean, that's not the case. Industry should be after money because they have to, the shareholders will kick them out otherwise, isn't it? So at the same time, we should also see that to my mind, the real problem at the moment is the confidence measures are not there. I call it as confidence building measures are required. It can be many. It can be student level exchange. At the moment, what is happening? You send a few students to the industry. And most of you complain, saying that they didn't show anything. Our fellows were simply walking around. I'm also a teacher. Last 20 years, more than 20 years, I am a professor now. So I understand this much. Earlier days in the RDO, probably I didn't understand. After my retirement, I'm in this, what you call teaching and research. So I know that we send students there, and the students will be, maybe somebody has seen them, may not be seen, because there is no benefit for them. But if you say that these students are for you, you put them to work, 3 months they are with you, you use the 10 fellows and make use of them, and not just producing a certificate or a report, but real work, then you will see they will be benefited. And you also you should also go there and see whether our students are performing. What is happening many times is our students go there and they will want to enter into some very confidential kind of thing. They're afraid to show them because then there is a problem. So at the level of the professor to the manager there, if there can be an interaction and the student exchange will be much more useful, I think this problem can be solved. In other words, confidence building measures, understanding each other. That will be an important thing in this line.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And another issue which we found was this multidisciplinary issue. Most of us found many of the partners are in watertight compartments.
Yeah, this is what we are breaking now. For example, a project I'm talking a medical project. If it is a medical project, there should be a doctor at all. Without a doctor, there cannot be.
Yeah.
So if it is an agriculture product, you should have an agricultural person from that. I know everything. That is a different issue. When you know everything, suppose you make a particular product beautiful, everything, no doctor in it. Who will give you ethical clearance? Who will give you clinical trials? There is nobody to hold the hand, isn't it? So the team which I mentioned, I didn't mention the whole detail, but team itself will take 1 hour actually, if you ask me to talk about it. Team should consist of engineers, scientists, doctors, depending upon the thing, or agricultural professionals, and then we should have varieties of people in the team itself, all competent, and they become, bind by credit sharing formula. That credit sharing formula is what many a time we lack. As a result, at the end of the day, each one is separate, and finally nobody is there to look at the project. So I think this is important. I think the team is and team players should be brought in. That will be very, very important. Possible, but some of us should do this. I tell you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We are making some initial effort.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Thank you.
May I make a comment, Lazar?
Sir, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
First of all, excellent lecture, Lazar. Very good. You put all these things together. I want to add a few things for
Yes,
youngsters who are there.
Yes, sir.
You see, the main thrust of Lazar Mathew's lecture has been, to some extent, productization in some form or the other.
True, sir. True.
Yeah. There could be a purely research-oriented mind kind of things. I will keep it away because that is not of great interest to it. At present, most of the funding agencies, not only in India and outside, everybody is looking at what is the result and what is the impact on technology or how it is going to be used in the market as thing.
Yes, sir.
Our smaller universities, Lazar mentioned it several times, but take it very seriously. I have been asked the question several times because I was instrumental in starting most of the research groups in DRDO. Why is it that the Indian Institute of Science and IIT Bombay and other IITs get project, not other schools? Lazar indicated to you why is it they get. How do we overcome that? Are we going to catch up with the IIScs, IITs? Obviously not. But one of the things I want to suggest to smaller, mainly teaching institutions who want to do research is forum clusters, forum groups. If you believe that you are going to alone be responsible for developing a technology, you are absolutely wrong and you are going to fail. If DRDO, Space and others succeeded, they succeeded because of the group work, teamwork. Expertise of all kinds of people were put together. So in your smaller schools where you have got a limited resources or limited manpower, I don't think you should apply for a project, a major project, as an individual. If you can collectively form a group, this is a project on biomedical. As Lazar was saying, I'm going to bring a doctor, a physiologist, a biomedical, who may be in some other institution, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Bring them along. So we as a team are going to develop this biomedical equipment or an instrument. And part of the expertise thinking comes from one guy, maybe a physicist, converting it into a product, maybe electronics and mechanical engineer, and maybe converting it into a product. In a product, you must look at when you want to go to market and when you want to go to industries. I often talk to the people, they should talk about LITIs, manufacturability, scalability,
Yes.
marketability, reliability, maintainability. These are the things which academicians generally don't think about it. So bring your industrial partner at the right time. The right time has to be decided by you. If you are confident enough, I would bring them at the beginning itself. So it will guide you.
Beginning itself, sir. Beginning itself.
Beginning itself, thing. So Lazar and I used to work together sometimes in the Society for Biomedical Technology. We asked them, where is the doctor? No, there is no doctor. And then you are talking about biomedical. How will it fit? Somehow it looks like an oxymoron.
So we are doing something like that with Gangadhar and Professor Gangadhar and myself and a few of us in this area.
This is one thing I want to add. Small groups.
Absolutely right, sir.
Small groups.
Yes, sir.
And apply it from the strength. Bring everybody's knowledge. Today's Gangadhar talked about multidisciplinary. Technology is always multidisciplinary. For example, nanotechnology, does it belong to physics? Does it belong to chemistry or material sciences, electronics? Where does it belong?
Yeah.
So forum clusters, small groups.
We are trying to do something like that in this area.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Forget your egos. The ego forgetting is very important.
Yes.
In a group, Lazar will tell you if DRDO would have succeeded, it's not just the program director or author who succeeded, it's the hundreds of people who worked with it that succeeded these things. So forum clusters. And please keep your ego at the background. If not, kill it. Very essential thing to do. And I want one few comments. Whether I'm taking too much time?
No. Please go ahead, sir.
I'll tell you this. One aspect which Mr. talked about, spend some time, is the technology readiness level.
Yes.
In the 80s and 90s, when I went to headquarters, we didn't understand what this technology level was. As Ramchandra Krishna pointed out, I was the man who created the called DATE, Decision Aid for Technology Evaluation. How could DRDO use it? Because if DRDO used to use it, DRDO doesn't have to depend on only its internal strength, it is a national strength. So we evaluate the national strength. We arranged a group of more than 100 professors to come and tell us what is our national strength. Where is it we can do? Yes, our national strength, of course, was not in devices, as Lazar pointed out. We never developed devices. Our national strength was building systems, testing systems, evaluating systems, fielding systems. So you must realize what is you are going to do. From small universities, I agree with you, you're not going to go and look at a system, but look at a small product. And even for that product, assemble a group of people together. And then bid for it. And your proposal should be written well. Lazar Mathew has gone through that. I agree with you. Many of the proposals, just like at the back of a envelope kind of a thing, you scratch something, you don't go with no idea what is it going to yield finally. And this extension is a disease which we have gone into. And purposely, I know if I ask 5 years, they won't give. I will ask for 3 years and then ask for extension. This mindset, as you pointed out, should go. In the mindset to market, I think we should remove the mindset and we should go from mind to market and see how we can do that.
No, sir, the idea is mindset should change.
Yeah,
mindset
this is the part. I am very glad with the thing. One suggestion to you, Veda, gist of this could appear in our newsletter. And maybe we can ask.
They have recorded, sir. They have recorded. They can
make a small proportion so they can do it. I agree. There are other methods of approaching the problem. This is one of the methods of approaching the problem.
Yes, yes.
You know, for example, if I had given the same lecture, perhaps I would have concentrated on something else also. Possibility exists. So there is one methodology of looking at project proposals, and this can be used as a content.
This is just the beginning of the series. We are having from different people now.
Yeah, very good.
Giving different aspects.
Well done, Lazar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
And
so
actually,
much.
Dr. Veda, if you can make a kind of a, report, whatever you heard now,
Yes.
and send it to
Yes.
me, I'll go through, and then it
Sure.
can be published. I have no objection.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have the next person, Professor Nayak, Nayak. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So thanks for the excellent talk. And also, I fully agree with Professor Atre for his advice on the small, colleges and universities, how to support and all. This is true. But my own question is, what is on these most proposals, the deliverables are not properly brought out and no hardware at all. If you see, I agree fully with Atre on this point. How to advise the investigator for real deliverables? That is one of the.
Just before Lazar answers that, hi Nayak, long time no see. In fact, when myself and Nayak and few others work together, we always define the product first.
Yes, sir.
What is that we wanted to achieve, and then looked at what are the R&Ds to be done and how we have to arrange the group and so on. And thanks to Nayak, we had come out with several products.
Yes, sir. Now those things are flying in all HL
aircraft.
Helicopters. Yes. Yeah. So how to these proposals? How to make them understand that hardware is important and you have to give the deliverables in any project. Professor Mathew?
Sir, you are in mute.
Veda,
Yeah, we can hear. Yes, sir.
one of the things you could do perhaps is sometime down the road, once we are get rid of all the Greek alphabets, you can have a one day workshop kind of a thing, and invite people like Lazar Mathew and in a local colleges in Bangalore, put a group together, and advise them. As I said, there are even if there are other ideas, let them flow in.
Sure.
1 hour lecture is there are so many things which Lazar covered. Some of them we have to do this. So you can have a one day workshop sometime down the road when we can physically meet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And perhaps guide them.
I covered a lot of things which
one of the suggestions is if Lazar Mathew's time and others are available for a typical proposal, we can have them reviewed by Lazar Mathew before they submit a major program.
Okay, we can have an advisory board within IT Plus.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. That was
I am sure Lazar wouldn't mind doing that.
No, I don't mind, sir. I mean, this is for the common cause. I will do it. No problem.
Thank you.
We can have a group. Even Professor Nayak is we have Prof Nayak here, Dr. Gangadharan also there, and we have some other people also who
Yeah.
are also in this area.
And
Yeah.
said, so tell us this kind of services available through IEEE, we will provide for those who is necessary.
Okay. Okay, sir.
It becomes a pre-review committee kind of before you submit the proposal. Because one of the things which Lazar Mathew brought out is also very important. Very few universities have an internal review committee.
Yes. Dr. Mathew, can you answer Professor Nayak's question? He had a question on.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm okay. Now I thought, yeah, Dr. Nayak, please.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
What was the question? I didn't hear.
So let's see, in any proposal, they are not clearly mentioning the deliverables.
Yeah.
That's why deliverable, they say software delivered, demonstrated, or just tested. That's all. But actual hardware or any software also they are not mentioning as a deliverable.
Yeah.
This has to be made clear while they are proposing the proposal. But why it is not happening?
Yeah, I mean, there are several issues. I'll answer that. I have written my outcome, output, or product, and all that. But you have seen my slide, personal plan, that PPP, when I put one slide there.
Yeah.
PPP. So many times the person in his mind, he is not looking at all the P's. He is stopping at some stage, honestly speaking. And you can, when you go through the project proposal or when you talk to them in the presentation, I can very well see that the interest is not a product or anything. Their interest is in between somewhere, you understand? And filing a patent is not very difficult. So I think this mindset should go, that mindset should change. That my mindset should be from my product should come. That is the reason why deliverable is it's not. I told you 90% of the proposals what we see doesn't see the light of the day, and the technology, the value of technology death is becoming very common. All this is because we have not, understood the problem, or we have not been able to overcome the problem. That's the thing. I agree with you. It is definitely a need, and probably Dr. Athre's suggestion of going through an earlier pre-review or something may help it also, because but one thing is that institutional head has to take some interest and see that these are not just sending the proposals, rather than there should be sanctioning of proposals. So I think deliverables are very much lacking. I don't deny that.
Thank you.
Dr. Sujata.
Hi, Vida. Good evening to all. Dr. Lazar, this is a very wonderful session. We enjoyed it very well. And I have just one or two questions. One is the review time of the proposal by various funding agencies. Sometimes they take more time. And we are always checking the status. It always shows under review. And is it even though it has become online system, sometimes we are not getting reply even after 2 years also we don't get reply, and we finally conclude ourselves that it is not recommended.
Absolutely.
So this is happening many times. Instead of that, is it possible that the funding agency, if they say rejected also in time, then we can, and also with the reason why it has been rejected, at least a little bit elaborately, then the investigators can correct themselves. Sometimes generally the committee has not recommended, but some cases they mention one point, that is lack of technical reasons or something, but many times they don't mention the reason. And is it not good that if they mention the reason, they can improve themselves, the investigators can improve themselves?
Yeah,
and also
Madam, I agree. Both your proposals, both points are very valid. I am also a victim like you, rather than an authority to control it. In the sense, we probably should take up, with the DST and DRDO. Even DRDO is at fault on this. They are also not replying properly. For example, Life Science Research Board people complain to me saying that we didn't get any reply. I think this is an important point which has to be taken up with the head of the organizations of these institutions. I think the only solution I can say is the head of the institutions of various places like IAC or IIT or whatever it is. Write a letter to the concerned secretary. This problem can be solved at their level only, because it is just lying in some corner. They don't even look at it. And many a time when it comes to me as the chairman, now I'm not a chairman at the moment. As chairman, I write to them saying that this is coming to me, so do something about it. Then they sir, it is lying in the finance department, and the finance department of some of these organizations are not answerable to anybody the way they talk about it. So I fully agree with you. And in the cases where I chaired a meeting, I have always given a reason. But the reasons are not communicated to many times to the people because they challenge the reasons. So there is a unnecessary correspondence, challenging the reasons. In a particular case, the challenging the reason became very difficult even for the department and for me, because the person who is challenging it has gone to the minister. The challenge was at the minister's level, and then minister asked me, so I had to give it. But very complex it was. Actually, we as a group found it not useful, but the man was not willing to accept it. So that is why many times they are not giving you the reasons. But definitely the first point is very valid. We should definitely should get a reply. And not only your reply, madam, government or any organization, everything should be given a reply within a stipulated period, according to me. But then I don't have the power for that right now. We probably have to write it to the secretaries of various organizations. So I will be fully part of you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And another question is, nowadays, that is, the people are more loaded with academic load and the NBA and NAC and so many files they are dealing with. And the teachers, they find difficult to work on research. How to create interest among the faculty members to submit a project proposal when...
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yeah, when many are busy with their regular academic load, how can we create interest in among the youngsters?
A very valid point. There is so much time is going in the so-called data collection and the so-called quality assurance group. I fully agree with you. Every university I have seen this. This is because we have both NAC and NIRF. They keep on shifting their goalpost every now and then, and they create new things. And in the process, the department goes on asking the same information again and again. Number one. Number two, I gave a solution. One of the universities which they have accepted it. They have taken a computer, a very powerful computer, and the computer does most of this work. I mean, it's a management system, so everybody cannot probably afford it, but that will take away a lot of your valuable time. Most of the time, you are filling up forms only. Most of the time,
exactly,
you will be filling up forms and wasting your time and students' time, and this is a fact. I think this again requires a high level. I think NIRF and NAC every year this accreditation thing has to change. Some kind of a policy should come, and wherein the documentation work of the teachers should be reduced. I fully agree with you, but I have no solution in my hand because one vice chancellor or registrar or somebody cannot do this. It has to be done at the national level, so it has to be taken up in a bigger way. That is the problem.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Somewhere your point is very valid. I'm not coming out of it. As university person, I'm also in a university now. It is very valid. Institute of Eminence, these people they are also now struggling.
Yes, sir, because I find in every institution, only very few people are working on research, that is getting projects and executing the projects. We can say that only handful of faculty members are taking up the projects, sponsored projects. Other people, some people they are submitting, they don't get. But again, the next time they are not submitting at all. And the reason they say that I am busy with the academic load, I am busy with all the files, I am in charge of this, I am in charge for this also. So they give a lot of excuses for not submitting the proposal.
Madam, actually, they are also right in saying that. You are from which institution, madam?
I am from Rajalakshmi Engineering College, Chennai, sir.
Oh, Chennai. Okay.
I am Dr. Sujata.
It's a good institution. I know. Yeah.
Yes. That is why I suggested you form groups. Individuals may not be able to contribute that much of time.
Yeah.
But just saying that I have got too much of teaching load, I don't want to research, fine. I don't think in American universities are also 100% of the people are doing research. There are some, in fact, American universities separate them, teaching professors, research professors, and
Yes,
so on.
that is there.
Maybe we should look at this is a policy decision, and Lazar Mathew is right. That's a decision which cannot be made at an institutional level or in an institute of ISSS or a seminar. It's not a one thing.
Yes,
It's a policy level. It's slowly changing. But if you notice that the national new educational policy, that's why it says teaching the dominant institution, research dominant institutions, and so on. I think we are on the right track, but it will take some more time. But one of the methods to solve is if you have very small time to spend, 4 into 1 plus 1 plus 1, you make it 111 by everybody to either rather than 3. So form clusters, groups to work. Individuals have to put in a certain amount of time, but the project requires 3 times the amount of time. So 3 people are necessary. But if you decide the job is only teaching, I will become an excellent teacher, there's nothing wrong with it.
Correct.
Yeah, but sir, the problem is these institutions have got the NIRF ranking, and there the whole system is how many papers published, how many patents have got, all that different kind of classifications come.
I agree.
So,
I am totally against this method of ranking.
Yeah, I know, sir. But
I have no say in it, but I tend to think it's not at all helping.
Not at all helping. At the moment, what is happening is these institutions have to survive. Their NIRF ranking is important for them. NAC accreditation is important for them. And then they pressurize the teachers that you don't have publications, so your increment is stopped. So all kind of things, Madam Sudha didn't probably tell all the things, but there are other internal complications in this. We have to find a mechanism. I agree with you. Vice chancellors of the universities have to take up with the policy change. I think it's a very high level. ISSS probably can do a little bit help in this matter for you. I'm not sure. I think also Gopalakrishnan probably can look at it. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Veda.
Yeah, Dr. Nilanjan. Dr. Nilanjan, can you ask?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it was a nice presentation, and especially that part, that proposal for the product. Okay, it actually clarified a lot of things to me. Now I have one question. That suppose a project proposal of a product has 4 different parts in different domains. Okay, and the output of one part, that is the input for the next part. Okay. Now, if I plan for a project proposal, normally we write for 2 years or 3 years, right? Now, so if I'm not getting the output from one part, I cannot start the next part. Okay, and hence I cannot complete the whole system also. So, how to write project proposal for this type of system?
This is actually, you're talking about a technology development. It's not just a product alone.
Yes, let me tell you one example. Suppose I'm working for a small robot where I have one actuator development. It's not like ready-made taking a motor and fitting into that system. Okay, some customized actuator development as well as one mechanism development and the electronic controller development also. 3 parts are there. Okay, so now I cannot write that I'll develop one actuator because that is not probably a product probably. Okay, customized actuator. So I have 3 things now.
You see, your actuator should be not just only.
The problem.
Your actuator should be not only for your product alone. An actuator, if you are making it, should have several other uses. Then only it will be a funded mechanism.
No, I'm saying that there could be some robotic issues. For example, I have a piezoelectric actuator. Okay. That could be a customized structure. Okay. Now, along with the piezoelectric structure, suppose I'm using a compliant mechanism. That is also another customized mechanism. Okay. Now I'm going to control that one using electronics. Now, if I don't know the load, then I can write the program, but surely, but once I will develop the hardware system, then only I can test it.
Yeah, I understood you. So I can tell you here.
How to write project proposal?
I'll give you the answer. I understood it. You have to get the whole product in the first form. That this is ultimate thing. Then you can divide them into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Okay.
You understand? So yes, phase 1, if it is not successful, you won't get any funding for the phase 2.
Okay. So
So
in
you
phase
say,
one, I can target the actuator,
no,
right?
let me complete. You say that the product X is being produced by me. It will take about 9 years, 10 years. But
Okay.
for this, I require 4 things separately. So I am submitting phase 1 now. Phase
Okay.
2 will be after success of that. If the funding agency feels comfortable that you have a scope of getting the ultimate product, then they will give you the phase 1. So you cannot
Okay.
say that, I will make it, then the phase. No, you have to give the whole picture. Your big picture has to be given to them. But you tell them that I have to divide them into 3-4 phases.
Okay.
Generally, maybe 2 or 3 phases, and say the time frame for that. Then it will be possible.
Okay. And one phase could be of 2 or 3 years, right? Normally.
Yeah, one phase can be 3 years, even 4 years. Provided that phase is successful, then only they fund the next one. What you're telling has been done by me, by when people apply for a bigger program. We ourselves have made it into phase 1, phase 2. Not by the project funding agency. As a chairman, I have done that. So that is what you should do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nilanjan, there is a very important issue which Lazar Mathew brought out. You must define the entire product.
Yeah.
And then say these are the phases and I am applying for a first phase.
Okay.
But if you don't define what are the other phases and say some hanging glue just on a free entire, it doesn't work. You've got to at least go up to the point of reasonable definition of what is that you're going to achieve finally.
Correct.
And I want, as I said, 9 years, whatever it is. Don't say 9 years, some years. This is the first phase. If I succeed, then I will apply for the second phase. And at the third phase, you will see the product. Something like that.
Okay. Exactly.
So you have to clearly
Yes, it's clear.
Clearly define at the beginning itself.
Yes.
Because if the final product what you're talking is not valuable, then it will not be considered. If your final product is valuable, then your phase 1, phase 2, people will take the risk. They will take the risk with you. That's the idea. Okay.
So your definition of what you want to achieve ultimately should be very clear.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful input.
Yes, sir, this excuse me, just I'll add one point. The similar case has happened in our institution. One faculty, she has submitted the project proposal, like what Nilanjan has told, like a system level, and to DST. The committee has advised her to take it as a instead of 3 years project as a system level. They have given funding of for the proof of concept to do in 1 year. So she applied for 40-50 lakhs. And they have given 10 lakhs to do the proof of concept in 1 year. And in the sanction letter itself, it has mentioned that if she is successful in the first level, then she can submit for the second level. That is to continue the project. So it happened in the committee has recommended like that. And it
we
is
have
good.
Done several cases like that.
Yes, it is good that otherwise, as investigator, we always think the way of doing like a system level for 3 years. But instead of that, we can take it as a 1 year project and we can complete it stage by stage. It's a good discussion too. Thank you.
I just want to add that the mindset of India is changing.
Yes, sir.
And we are supporting such kind of project. This is the time.
We are supporting a lot of such projects, sir. Even I supported a not very highly technological. There was a proposal came once from somewhere from Madurai.
So this is the time to jump in and do such kind of project.
Yeah. A lady brought out a mechanism. She wanted to make, the toilets have been given to poor people, but there's no water there. And she brought a very simple technology. People said, sir, kya project hai? How can we fund a project like that? I said, we will fund it. And we funded it. And she demonstrated and shown it. So point is not technology alone. When we talk about a product or a process, we need something to the society to come, apart from your technology alone. Technology is there, but then it's not just very high technology alone. It should be the question of getting a benefit out of your work also. So your question is answered. You can have in phases, right? Dr. Veda, what is next?
Dr. Shivaramakrishna.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I am Professor Shivaramakrishna from Usman University, sir.
Yes.
It's a very excellent lecture, sir, from Dr. Lazar, sir. Very good and very, I think, after so many years hearing such a beautiful, say, how to write a research proposal, very interesting. And I have a few things, sir. First thing is getting project, everything is well. But on spending the money, there will be a lot of difficulties you come across. Like there is a lot of headings, contingency, consumables, hiring for everything. So there will be a lot of some kind of ambiguity when purchasing, when buying something. especially there will be a lot of time consuming process will be there in some, I hope some process will be there every time. And in that case, I feel most of the researchers will find get hesitated in which one if I buy, then what happens to this, any audit problem, everything will come. So that execution level, this financial, how to divide clear, because each agency will define some kind of, this comes under consumable, this comes under contingency, this comes in hiring, and so many things are there. That sometimes becomes what you call a impediment for carrying out further, because you will be 2 years you give time or 3 years depending on the project. You will be spending time on getting the outcome, but at the same time, how to settle this account, this becomes a very practical issues most of the time. The next thing is, I like the proposal of yourself and Dr. Atre sir, that you want to conduct a one-day workshop completely on carrying all the aspects. In fact, I want to tell that in our college, we have established recently an academic research committee, where committee consists of people from all the departments. We scrutinize the application before they submit to the agency, so that we can improve their quality of presentation and research proposal. And it is also proposed to, it's not like a monitoring committee, but a committee which constantly encourages the people who got sanctioned these projects, how to monitor, how to do their project correctly, sir. This is my thing, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
The first one, I think that not much of answer is needed. First one is the funding agencies. Now the project will start only when you get the money, because they take a lot of time in sanctioning the money. So we have made that arrangement with the places where the funding is given. Suppose you applied in this year, you got the funding next year. Whenever the fund has come to you, from that point, only the project will be starting. Second point which you mentioned is, I have found my experience is mostly the financial things are also part of the problem in the institution itself. Institution itself doesn't have a clear-cut policy about the financial thing. Number one. Number two, when you apply for, I told you, you should have some kind of a quotations, etc., so that you are not asking these quotations, etc. If you show them, then the funding agencies will, because they also got a financial department. And many times this going up and down is because of the finance department of your institution and the finance department of the funding agency. I think there should be some kind of a rapport and dialogue between the two. This can be sorted out. Regarding your internal monitoring committee is very good. If you have got one, that is excellent. I will say that that's a good thing. Yes.
We would like to organize one-day workshops from our Usman University College of Engineering. If you all agree, ISS, I would